Okay, in this short film, I just want to discuss some of the common questions that people ask about getting work in the field of technical communication. The course that I offer is actually in technical communication per se, meaning that it includes all aspects of technical communication, which is both technical writing and Marcom and social media and anything else that enables a high-tech company to put information out about its product, whether instructional information, whether installation and configuration type of manuals, or whether it's advertisements and writing sales letters and white papers and other material that is needed to convince people that the product is a good one and that they should buy it. So all of those things are in the course. But people asking how can I get work? This is an old question that never seems to stop. And certainly we can kind of rephrase it in how does a writer find work? Because we're really talking about some form of writing in most cases. It's true that there are other things that technical communicators do today, sometimes running trade shows, sometimes making films, but it all comes down to, normally speaking, the written word somewhere along the line, whether writing a script for film or whether you are writing a white paper or a press release or a user manual or whatever it is. It's all about writing, and therefore we really are considered to be a writing profession. And how do you find work as a writer? Is it the same thing as finding work as a secretary or as an accountant or a lawyer or whatever? Well, partially yes, it is, and somewhat it isn't. There are certain things on both sides of the question, and I want to discuss that now. First of all, the writing professions normally require a little more research and to find a job that you want. There's such a wide range of different types of writing jobs. There's freelance from home, and there's working in a company. There is working as part of a team in a company, or there's working as a lone writer, being in charge of all the writing within the company. It's just you. And all of those situations can be experienced even by a first-time writer, a raw beginner. I've gotten people into companies who they were the sole writer in the entire company and took care of everything right off the bat, right after graduating. This is actually quite common for smaller companies to hire someone like that, and they can't afford to hire more than one writer, and that's it. Many of these smaller companies also can't afford to hire experienced writers either, because experienced writers are quite expensive. So they'll hire someone who's talented, who seems to know how to do the work, and who can be trained quickly to do the right thing. And they save themselves money, and it gives the writer a start in a company. Well, that's one way of getting in. But the fact is that persistence is the most important thing. To keep looking for the kind of job that best fits you. Most companies will kind of recognize that eventually. There's a certain kind of a fit between the individual and the company. It's like a shidduch, and that's what really makes gives you your break when you first start out. Finding that company that sees in you something and that you see in them that this is the kind of company you want to work for. Normally when you have this kind of mutual understanding, everything else just flows. But it takes a while to find. It's looking around, it's going to big companies and small companies and looking at various opportunities, sometimes working from home or partially from home. And it means being persistent. Almost in every case, the graduates have come out of here, whether in a great year like in 1998 when the companies couldn't get enough technical writers, or whether it's in a down year where, let's say, high tech is slowing down. It depends. Actually, right now it seems to be a pretty good year. But in every case, normally people will spend several months looking for a job, and they'll complain and they'll come back to me and crying. I don't know why I took this course and it's too hard, and I no one wants to talk to me, whatever. And then a year later, I'll almost always get a call from them at some point. Asking me if I would have another writer to recommend for the company that they're working in. So in other words, they found a job, they're happy, and the people were so happy with them that they asked them, hey, you know what? This place where you learn technical writing, maybe you can hire somebody, another person also. We need to expand the department. This happens again and again and again, so that it doesn't even surprise me anymore. People do find things, but they have to look and seriously. Okay, it's not something that you just find in a few weeks. Now, there are some jobs that you could find, I suppose, in a few weeks, but not in the writing profession. For example, perhaps if you want to be a telephone, do telephone sales, there seems to be an endless amount of jobs for that right now, where you just man telephones and make phone calls, and you can make an okay money. But that's not the kind of job you probably want. In fact, I've got people who were doing those jobs and then came to learn technical writing. So, I mean, there are certain types of jobs which are more readily available. Teaching is also another one. Of course, you need a teaching degree today, and maybe specialize in a certain area. But there is a crying need for teachers in many places in Israel, and so those kind of places, you probably wouldn't have to wait as long to find something. Maybe you could find something in weeks. All right, but generally speaking, I have found that anyone who finishes a course, even at a let's say above average level, let's say a B, 80%, something like that, is almost assured of getting a job eventually, with enough persistence and looking and checking it out, and not just kind of throwing up hands and applying for a few places and saying, well, there's no jobs out there. Okay, this is what I found. Let's go on a little bit and see. So I think, what do companies want? Many people just don't understand. They'll go to an interview and then they'll show them their stuff and everything seems okay, and then the company somehow never gets back to them. What are they really looking for? Well, I found, amazingly enough, that companies are looking not primarily for the best writers, or not primarily for anybody who has great technical background, because they have plenty of those people working in the company already. What are they really looking for in a writer? What's the first thing they look for in a technical writer? Well, we will see. First of all, I bring this slide in because, weirdly enough, while the graduates, some graduates complain, well, they can't find jobs, and then I've got companies calling me saying, where are all the writers? They think that they just pick up the phone, call me, and I'll send them all these terrific writers. Well, they pick up the phone, and I do send them, but somehow the writer is never exactly what they're looking for. Well, what are they looking for? I mean, they all come out of here with pretty much the same skills. Some are a little more skillful than others, perhaps, but as in every profession. But they all have the same amount of knowledge, and they know how to do technical writing or any other kind of writing in the high-tech field that's required. So what's going on? Well, let's see what I found over the many years I've been doing this. First of all, they're looking for a certain character type, and that is the most important thing. They're looking for self-assured people, people that are not timid, people that know how to work with others in a company. They're looking for very responsible people. I've had many companies call me and tell me, look, just send somebody normal. What does that mean? Well, the last few technical guys I had, one quit in the middle of the job. They just, got up and said, I don't want to do this anymore, and walked out. And others had similar experiences of weird people who did all kinds of funny things and were not really responsible. This is a perennial problem. I don't think it's only in technical writing, but it seems to be something that people are very much looking for when it comes to technical writing. They're looking for people that they can rely on. Reliability is more important than anything. Curious. They want people who are curious. I had one guy once, a number of years ago, interview somebody that I sent him. He himself was a graduate of here, and he had already risen to a higher position in the company. And he said, Mati, you send me somebody, and I asked them, ask me questions about our product and the person had nothing to ask, nothing to say, just kind of like, okay, I don't know what to ask. I don't want somebody like that in my company, he said. I need a technical writer who's curious, who will ask questions, who will take initiative, and not just kind of sit back and wait to be told what to do. Rosh Gadol, somebody who knows how to go out and collect information and actually organize information and organize the whole thing in a proper way, so that people can rest assured that they'll get the product in the end, which is whatever the manual or written piece that they need. This is very, very important. Everyone knows that writing is not easy. Writing takes some creativity, it takes some thought, organization, and skill, and you have to know what you're doing. And if they think that people, don't have that Rosh Gadol in order to go and take on those kind of responsibilities, then they're not sure they're really going to get it in the end what they need. Attention to detail is very important in technical writing more than anything else. Here we're talking about, not just handing in a piece of writing that you did, but looking it over and making sure that the grammar is there, the sentence structure, even the punctuation, and of course the technical accuracy. You don't always have to get it totally technically accurate because you don't know as much as a technical person in there, and you're not expected to. But you do have to at least pay some attention to things that you were told. If you were told that such and such this is a new value for some particular option or whatever, well, then they expect that you took good notes and you did put it in and you didn't just listen to it and then forget about it. People want to feel that you care. That's the main thing, that you care and that these things are important to you. And it's not easy to find people like this. I've found that most companies, the problem they have is just finding somebody who has this list of character traits that I'm mentioning here. This is the main problem. In fact, some companies will even tell me, look, just get me somebody like this and we'll train them. We'll train them, even though they don't think they quite understand how long it could take to train a technical writer. But there are companies like that will prefer to get somebody with these kind of traits and somebody that they can actually train rather than get somebody who knows lots of things but is not any of these. Is not self-assured, is not responsible, it doesn't pay attention to details, kind of sloppy and just kind of comes in when they want and leaves when they want and leaves early from work and who knows what else and doesn't come to work. Knows how to work with others, what they call working with a team. Almost any job you find advertised today, whether it's it's programming or engineering or anything else, or a lawyer or accountant, they all want somebody who knows how to work with in a team. And this is one of the problems that I've had with some of our graduates in order to overcome the problem that many of them haven't worked in any kind of company, either for many years or have never worked in a company. And this is one of the things that we have to overcome, one of the chischonot, let's put it that way, because then people are reluctant to hire you. They say, well, you might have the skills and you this and that, but we don't know if you really be able to stick it out. I mean, after a few weeks in a company, maybe you get tired and go home and say, I can't hack it. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to go there. And therefore, it's convincing people that you have these traits. That's what I do. I through your resumes and cover letters and things like that I prepare for you or help you prepare, and give you strategies of how to convince people that you have this list that we're looking at. This is the most important thing. Once people think that you are this type of individual, believe me, you will have the skills when you come out of here to do the job, and they'll see that as well, and then the job is yours. The big question, and people ask, is there work out there? Maybe there are too many technical writers. Who knows? Maybe there's no work out there. Well, apparently there is work out there because I keep getting companies turning to me and asking me to recommend a writer or to get somebody out there. It doesn't always work out, and sometimes it's just not a good match. But the fact is that they turn to me, that means that they need writers. And they're always advertising, so I'll show you, for writers, and people are looking for people constantly. So there is work out there. There are hundreds of startup companies every year in Israel that are new companies. Okay, we're not some kind of a static society that had companies and now we don't have them, or they're just the same and not growing. Israel is one of the fastest growing high-tech areas in the world, second only to Silicon Valley, and we have literally hundreds of startups every year. New companies. Now, there's no companies, not all of them will need a technical writer right away. Eventually, somewhere down the line, they will need some type of writer. They'll need technical writers and Marcom writers. They'll need content writers. All of these things that are in the course, you will be trained to do, and they're going to need them eventually. Okay, it's impossible for companies to get along without any kind of communication with the outside world in terms of writing and publishing, especially in the net today more than ever before. Communication is important. There are more jobs today than ever before also in this area, because 10 or 15 years ago we didn't have the job of content writer. There wasn't a job, there was Marcom, but it was kind of limited. The huge expanse of marketing on the internet means that there are people that have to be hired to do Twitter and Facebook and all the social media, to do blogging, to write up press releases, and many other things that in the old days it was unheard of. It was more like, well, there's just technical writing. That's what you do. That's what there's a job for, and that's it. All these other kind of writing was not even a concept yet. So therefore, there are many more opportunities today, but it also means that you need more skills, and you have to make sure that you know how to look for these opportunities. Okay, what other questions are there? Can a beginner find a job? Well, as I said, yes. there are companies that have actually called me and asked for beginners. They don't want experienced people. They wanted to train the person from the beginning. There are many companies that say they don't care if it's a beginner or not. I've had a number of students turn to me in the last 4 or 5 months asking me to send another writer. The company's interested in more writers and they want a beginner. Beginners go because beginners are less expensive. They still make good salaries, but they make not 20,000 or 18,000 a month. Maybe they'll make only 10,000 a month to start, or even only 9,000. But it's an okay start for someone who wants to get into the field, and it's a good thing for the beginner, and it's a good thing for companies. And it's the same thing everywhere. I'm looking over job postings now before I started this film, and I see the same thing in all other fields. Okay, I looked over jobs in engineering and other areas, QA, etc. And sure enough, they want 3 years experience, they want 2 years experience, they want 5 years experience, whatever it is. I didn't find any of jobs in any of those other professions that said no experience necessary. Okay, unless it was phone sales. Like I said, phone sales looks like they don't mention anything experience because nobody wants to sit there and telephone all day long and do cold calling. It's not that much fun. It's not that great. You can make money, but it's not the greatest. And there, they will probably take somebody. Even there, they want some maybe experience, but usually they'll train you as well. Okay, but anything else, at least from what I saw just recently, there's 2-3 years experience at least. So how is that possible? How do people get into to go to programming or anywhere else? How do they get in then? I mean, what do they do? Same question, same exact question. It's not just for technical writers, for every profession that's any kind of profession. I mean, like I said, if you want to do phone sales, if you want to do maybe work in a store, behind the checkout counter, okay, you know what? Probably you don't need much training. They'll probably train you. If you want to work in McDonald's, they have a training program. You go there and they'll train you. You don't actually have to have experience in those kind of jobs. But those are the kind of jobs that are not the ones you want to really have a profession out of usually. Okay, all the professional jobs, they all want experience. Okay, that's obvious. The way you overcome it is to find those smaller companies or even bigger companies that are looking for a beginner, that want to save a bit of money, and that recognize in you something that they're looking for. Mainly those qualities which I just listed before. Those are the main things they're looking for. Somebody they feel like, wow, we're going to be in good hands with this guy. We like this person. And they need continuity too. They would like to find people that they can trust, that are going to stick with them. If they feel that you're just there for, just trying things out, but you're not serious about the profession, well then also they're reluctant because they know they're going to put a lot into you, they're going to train you, and then they're going to spend money doing that, and they want to know at the end of the day that you're going to be their worker for a number of years, and you're going to get better and better. I just talked to somebody who found a job for himself 7 years ago in a company, and he's still there, and he's very, very happy. He's a single writer there, and he does all the work of writing and desktop publishing and everything, and they really like him, and he's got a lot of status and power there, but he's stuck with it. He's stuck with it. He's an older guy, actually, and many times they prefer older people because they know that an older person or a person with a family is not going to jump from job to job and just be there for a year or two and then run away. And they will raise you and they will give you, your value accordingly and give you what you're worth. And it's good to try to stick around for a while. Where do you get jobs? Well, I just answered that. I mean, just about everywhere, really. There are jobs in the small startup companies. There are jobs in the large companies that have writing teams, places like SAP or Amdocs or Cisco or HP. And the positions do become available, and people will look for good people, somebody that they can trust. Okay, like I said, the answer is everywhere, really, when you think about it. Are there more jobs in certain areas? Normally speaking, Tel Aviv area has more jobs. In other words, Tel Aviv, Herzliya, Rehovot, Rosh Hashanah, any of these places in this area, the Gush Dan area, has a lot of high-tech parks. Of course, Matam in near Haifa also has a very nice, large high-tech park. These are the places that have the most jobs. Yerushalayim has less. There's less high tech, there's less industry. It is a government city, let's face it, it's the capital. And that's typical for capitals. Actually, the capital, Washington D.C., has a lot of technical writing jobs because they use technical writers there for government. In other words, writing up tax codes and things like that. Whereas here, they wouldn't use an English technical writer; they would use someone who knows Hebrew, and therefore those jobs wouldn't be government jobs. Here, for a technical writer, would be pretty much non-existent. So. On the other hand, Israel has the highest number of high-tech companies per square kilometer than any other country in the world, and therefore you shouldn't have a problem finding things not too far from home. If you live in Yerushalayim, you can commute many times to Ramat Gan. There are a lot of jobs there, or in Tel Aviv, with even just one bus. And certainly with the trains coming out now, new trains and things like that, connecting the cities together in Yerushalayim and Tel Aviv should be even easier. And of course, eventually you could perhaps get something in Jerusalem itself. There are also freelance type jobs where you can work at home part of the time and then, not have to go to the company at all. Maybe just once a week or once every couple of weeks. This is an example of a technical writer, some recent graduate. I put her resume together, and you can see that she's done a lot of things. Part of them she did here in the course. But some of them she did on her own. She edited the publications, books, magazines, policy papers. There are many things that people are looking for in this field. She's an excellent proofreader, that type of person. Okay, and she's just an older lady. This is a person over 60 years old. And she will definitely get something. She just graduated. But I have no doubt that she has a lot to offer. This is the kind of resume I put together. This is only partially what you see, and then there's afterwards job experience, etc. Okay, you can find careers in many, many directions, not only in the ones you're trained for here. I've had people take the course who then got into some fantastic stuff that wasn't in technical writing or Marcom per se. This is a letter written to me by a senior sales manager at Zen Technologies. They're the ones who make PHP programming, and they're very well known throughout the world. And he wrote this to me a while ago, and I think it was very nice. He said that, he never really went into technical writing, but what he learned in the course helped him give him the confidence and the knowledge that he could get into other field. He became a senior sales manager and is quite successful. And he's very thankful for for what he learned here, and it got him in. And I've heard this from many people. Many people told me that they got into, let's say, became a marketing manager in different places, or there was one guy even became the Samankal, the second in command of a company, and he got his start through taking the course, and afterwards he impressed him with what he knew in terms of being able to write and do things that gave him the skills to get into other kinds of work. I'm not saying you would definitely do this right off the bat, but trying to bring out the fact that not to look at the course as in a very narrow way that just trains you for one particular or a few particular jobs. It gives you a set of skills that can be used over a wide number of jobs in different areas that could lead into some really big things and much bigger than what you're considering at this point. Okay, so that's my conclusion here. I'm not going to go into this anymore at this point, but I cannot promise somebody that they will get a job in a certain number of weeks. I can only go according to the statistics and experience that I have, and that is that people who finished the course and did well in the course, not necessarily 100%, but something like around 80 level, and sometimes even less, and are persistent and really like to do this kind of stuff and keep on looking and keep on making those connections. I will help you to make those connections. I will keep pushing to get you in wherever I can, and eventually you will get a job, just like all the other graduates got jobs since 1993. The majority of graduates in high-tech companies in this country are graduates in technical writing. The majority of technical writers. It's just what's going to happen, because Israel is a dynamic country and it constantly is expanding in the high-tech world, and the more companies there are, the more writing is going to be needed. That's all.